Does this plan help you if you're someone who's unemployed but doesn't have an idea to start your own business? If you're one of these 23,000 Vermonters without a job.
Because she has the idea and she starts the business, and that creates more jobs. This is about job creation. And again, what I don't bother to talk about here are the great job training and retraining programs that we already have in place, so that if his business is doing a significant upgrade, then we have great programs that are available that he can use, and use state money from the state to retrain his employees so they keep their jobs.
Why haven't some of these ideas, I mean, we've heard this from a lot of the Democrats coming out with their jobs plans one after the other. Democrats have been in control of the legislature now for, since 2004. Why haven't some of these things even come out until now? I mean, if you run the Appropriations Committee, Democrats are in control. Why haven't some of these things percolated to the top so far?
Well, I don't know that some of these. Well, if you saw the end of last session and you saw the fight we had about economic development, I think you'd see how the differences between the views of this administration and how you create jobs in the legislature are fairly different. Where we've been able to take money and invest it, like the Seed Capital Fund, putting more money into job training for folks who are needing to keep up their skills, the legislature has done that. But the reason I'm running for governor is because it's the governor who gets to set those policies and set that tone. I don't like the tone, and I don't like the results of the past 8 years, certainly around economic development. So that's why I decided to run, and that's why here's a nice simple package of very pragmatic things that can be done to move things forward.
So
the bonding that you're proposing, that's over and above the bond of the state bonding?
Yes.
Does that pose its own?
Well, I've talked with a bunch of people about that, and I don't think it does, because the bonding is turning right around and creating jobs, and it's also creating what is consistently identified as a structural deficit in the state, which is access to affordable housing. So I think where you are taking bonded dollars, reinvesting all of it immediately back into the state, which of course always has multiplying effects and everything else, and putting people to work and buying the stuff in the state, and on and on and on, and getting people into affordable housing, that I think, I am certain you can make the argument that this isn't a bad thing to do in terms of borrowing some money right now.
So roughly, Susan, do you have a bottom line number? I mean, I didn't really hear.
Let me see. If you do the, we'll take the 30 and do as the bonding.
Right.
Take 2 million. I guess I'd say if I, well, let me say it was new money. 2 million to go to the Vermont Economic Development Authority. $1 million moved to go out to the regions, and 100,000 for one position, which you can get again by changing the kind of positions that we currently have.
Right.
So your new money, I think really the total new money would only have to be borrowing the 15 million.
What about the money that you've noted here for the some kind of bridge funding or grant funding to help, as you sort of illustrated the cost of getting a patent, like 20,000 or whatever some people might not have? Where does that money come from?
I'd look at the 13 million that we're currently spending in economic development, okay, and that's where I'd be moving the money around.
Okay.
See, I think there are a lot of now governor-appointed positions in that office that would not be there.
That would come out of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that that's what's.
Yeah. I think there's.
Grants, loans,
I'm certain there's plenty of money to move around in there. And in terms of setting up through that office a group of folks, if you will, who would say, okay, here are 40 ideas. Which of these really look like they have the capacity to turn into businesses that fit with Vermont? And you go through a process and have a group of folks that would make that decision, and which would in some ways not be any different than what the Vermont Economic Development Authority does, looking through who do you give loans to. This would be how do you give the grants.
Using that data model.
Yeah. Yeah.
Senator, can you switch gears a little bit and talk about your campaign and where you stand at this point? You're in a
Sure.
You're in a five-way race.
I am.
You're last in the fundraising. You come from a fairly small county. How do you overcome these things? How do you get your name out in the other parts of the state? Or
Let's see, my name is obviously, and as I have traveled the state, I've found no problem with people knowing who I am. So I'd say being chair of appropriations for 10 years has, people have paid attention. They have a pretty clear idea of who I am and what I stand for. And it's, for me, it's having these kind of very realistic ideas that you can put on the table and say, here's something real that we can do. Not here's 40 pages of words, but here's 6 simple things that we can do that will help create jobs long-term, short-term and long-term in the state. And I find folks are very receptive. I mean, right now we're talking about jobs, but whether you want to talk about education or anything else, that people are very receptive to what I have to say and my ideas, and I'm having a great time.
campaign fundraising?
Yeah. I knew that I wouldn't be terribly strong at doing that from the beginning, so decided where I was going to put my energy was on a small number of staff and spending my time traveling the state, talking to Vermonters and having them get to know me. I think, a primary is a very different race than the general election, and I think whoever wins the primary, optimistically me, there are several organizations that have said, they're already raising money for whoever the winner is. Howard Dean has said he'll give whoever wins the primary 2 days of fundraising. So, and it's interesting, I think a lot of people that have a lot of money are also spending a lot of money. So I don't know how much money anybody's going to have at the end of the primary.
When you reference other plans, are you talking about the 2 plans that your 2 Democratic rivals have come out with?
Right.
You don't think they add up?
Well, I don't know what they do. I mean, and none of them have any money attached to it. And a lot of them are rehashing about what we already do, which is fine. But in terms of actually saying, here's something different that I propose that we do that moves us